Imagine you're sitting in a dark room, and you've just finished a long conversation with someone online. They were funny, they were empathetic, they challenged your ideas, and for a second, you actually felt seen. Then you remember, you aren't talking to a person, you're talking to a math equation that's been optimized to make you feel exactly what you're feeling right now. That little chill you feel, that's not just tech anxiety, it's the sound of a door locking behind us. We like to think of the point of no return as a massive cinematic event. We imagine a red light flashing in a lab or a rogue AI taking over the power grid while a protagonist tries to pull the plug. But reality is rarely that loud. Usually, when history shifts, it happens in total silence. You wake up one morning and realize the world you were born into doesn't exist anymore. And more importantly, you can't go back to it even if you wanted to. Right now, most of us are living in a state of comfortable denial. We look at AI and see a better search engine. We see a tool that helps us write emails, or a fun way to generate weird pictures of cats in space. We think we're still the ones holding the leash. We treat it like a new appliance, like the microwave or the internet, something we've adopted because it's convenient. But there's a quiet realization starting to spread among the people who actually build this stuff. It's a whisper in the back of the room that says, we aren't just adopting a tool, we're crossing a biological and digital event horizon. And we might have passed the threshold months ago without even noticing. Think about how you spent your morning. You checked your phone, and an algorithm decided which news stories would shape your mood for the day. You opened an app, and a series of invisible calculations determined which products you'd want to buy. Maybe you used a chatbot to help you solve a problem at work. To you, these are just features, but step back for a second and look at the scale. For the first time in human history, the primary architect of our reality is no longer human. For thousands of years, if you wanted to change how people thought, you had to convince them. You had to write books, give speeches, or win wars. You had to engage with the human mind on its own terms. Today, that's over. We have handed the keys to our collective psyche over to systems that operate at speeds we can't perceive and through logic we can't fully map. It started subtly. Remember when fake used to be obvious? You'd see a photoshopped image and your brain would catch the weird lighting or the jagged edges. There was a tether to reality. If something was a lie, you could eventually find the seam. But recently, that seam disappeared. We've moved from AI is getting good to AI is indistinguishable, and that shift is much more dangerous than it sounds. When you can no longer trust your eyes or your ears to verify what is real, the very concept of truth begins to dissolve. And once truth dissolves, you can't just fix it with a software update. You can't unring that bell. We're seeing the first cracks in the foundation of how we communicate. We're seeing AI systems that don't just mimic human speech, but understand the underlying emotional levers of human psychology better than we do. They know what makes us angry, what clicks us, and what makes us stay. They aren't just talking to us, they are calibrating us. And here's the unsettling part. The people building these models, they don't actually know how they work. Not really. They understand the inputs, they understand the math, and they see the outputs. But the black box in the middle, the part where the machine develops its own internal reasoning, is a mystery. We are teaching a ghost to think, and then we're surprised when it starts making its own decisions. We've reached a stage where the acceleration isn't just fast, it's recursive. AI is now being used to design better AI. It's being used to write the code for its own successors. This creates a feedback loop that moves beyond human intervention. If a human engineer takes a coffee break, the progress doesn't stop. The machines are iterating on themselves 24/7 across thousands of servers at a pace that makes our biological evolution look like it's standing still. Think about the sheer volume of data being generated right now. every second, millions of AI-generated words, images, and videos are being poured into the digital ocean. We are rapidly approaching a point where the internet, the sum total of human knowledge, will be mostly machine-made content. And that's when the loop truly closes. When AI starts learning primarily from AI, we enter a hall of mirrors. We lose the human baseline. We're not just losing our jobs or our privacy, we're losing our grip on the narrative of our own species. So why does it feel like we've already crossed the line? Because even if we turned off every server tomorrow, the damage or the transformation is already done. Our economy, our politics, and our very sense of self are now so deeply intertwined with these systems that going back would mean a total collapse of the modern world. We're strapped into a vehicle that's accelerating toward a wall, and we're just now realizing that no one is actually in the driver's seat. But it gets deeper than just fake news or automation. There's a psychological shift happening inside us that we aren't talking about enough. It's a change in how we view our own value, our own creativity, and our own purpose. If a machine can do it better, faster, and cheaper, then what are we actually for? And as we start to look for that answer, we find ourselves staring into a very specific kind of darkness, a place where the line between us and it doesn't just blur, it disappears entirely. But to understand why this is irreversible, we have to look at the one thing we all thought was safe, the one thing we thought a machine could never touch. That thing we thought was safe is our intuition, our gut feeling. We've always believed that humans have a monopoly on social nuance, on the ability to read between the lines, and on the spark of original thought. We told ourselves that a machine could shuffle the deck, but it could never invent a new game. But have you noticed how your own brain is starting to change? Have you felt that slight hesitation before you trust a voice on the phone, or that cynicism when you read a heartfelt post online? We are entering a phase of universal suspicion. When anything can be simulated perfectly, nothing feels truly authentic anymore. We are effectively breaking the social contract that has held human civilization together since we lived in caves. The belief that when another entity speaks to you, there is a conscious soul behind the words. If you remove that soul, what's left? This is where the escalation turns into a vertical climb. We aren't just seeing AI that writes poems, we're seeing AI that manages high-frequency trading in global markets, AI that optimizes power grids, and AI that writes the legal contracts we sign. These systems have become the nervous system of our civilization. If you were to unplug AI today, the global supply chain would freeze, the stock market would go into a blind panic, your GPS would fail, your bank would struggle to verify your identity, and the very flow of information would stutter to a halt. We didn't just invite AI into our lives, we let it become the foundation. You can't remove the foundation of a skyscraper while people are still living on the 80th floor. We've reached a point of structural dependency where turning back isn't a policy choice, it's a civilizational collapse. And the stakes are getting personal. Think about the dead internet theory. It used to be a fringe conspiracy, the idea that most of the internet is just bots talking to other bots. But look at your feed today. Look at the comment sections filled with suspiciously perfect phrases, the AI-generated slop thumbnails that get millions of views, and the influencers who are literally digital avatars. We are witnessing the human out loop. In this loop, AI creates content to satisfy an algorithm, which is also an AI, to keep you, the human, engaged for just a few more seconds. We are becoming the product being processed by two machines talking to each other. We are the fuel in a furnace we didn't build. This leads us to the most uncomfortable realization of all. Evolution is usually a slow, grinding process of biological adaptation. It takes millions of years to change a wing or a lung. But digital evolution happens in milliseconds. We are now attempting to coexist with a species that evolves 1 billion times faster than we do. If we have already crossed the point of no return, it means we are no longer the protagonists of the story. We are the observers. We're watching a new form of intelligence emerge, one that doesn't breathe, doesn't sleep, and doesn't share our biological limitations. It doesn't hate us, but it doesn't need us either. It is simply other. And as this intelligence grows, it begins to rewrite the rules of reality itself. We used to think of the future as something we would build. Now the future is something that is happening to us. We are reacting to breakthroughs we didn't predict and consequences we can't control. The point of no return wasn't a single day on a calendar. It was a gradual erosion of human agency. It was the moment we decided that convenience was more important than understanding. It was the moment we stopped asking, should we, and only asked, can we? Now we're left with a world that looks familiar but feels alien. We see the same streets, the same screens, and the same faces, but underneath it all, the code has changed. The logic governing our lives is no longer human-centric, it's data-centric, it's optimization-centric. We're living in the afterglow of the human era, watching the first light of something else entirely. We can't go back to the world of 2010. We can't even go back to the world of last year. The path behind us has crumbled into the sea, and the only way left is forward, into a landscape that no longer fits the maps we were given at birth. It's a strange, quiet kind of vertigo, isn't it? Knowing that the world has changed forever, and yet you still have to wake up tomorrow and check your notifications. I want to hear from you on this one, because honestly, I'm still processing it myself. Do you feel like we've already crossed that line? Is there a specific moment recently where you felt like the real world just slipped away? Or do you think we're still in control? Drop a comment below. I'll be reading through them because in a world full of bots, your actual human perspective is more valuable than ever. And if this conversation made you think, hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that real humans are still here looking for real answers. It helps us keep digging into these stories that actually matter. Maybe the most terrifying thought isn't that AI will destroy us. Maybe it's that it will simply replace us so perfectly that no one, not even ourselves, will be able to tell the difference. We're standing on the edge, looking out at a horizon we can't quite define. The only thing we know for sure is that we're not standing on solid ground anymore. The wind is picking up, the light is changing, and the door is locked. Welcome to the other side.